Businesses are complex, and we all get that, especially e-commerce businesses. Although, really, when you boil it down, there's a simple side to every business, and it's really not that smart to overcomplicate things that can be simple. And so, let's look at the simple side of the business, and typically, that is the business model, right? The business model is the equation for your business. It's the few metrics that work together under the hood for you to produce revenue, profit, happy customers. Like that is your model. And in e-commerce, the cool thing about e-commerce is we've been doing it for so long that there are what I'll call golden metrics, golden multipliers that, these 5 things, if you adjust them and increase them, you can literally exponentially increase your business. And it's not even, a massive jump in one area. It's just a combination of 5 multipliers that are just tweaked a little bit. And, a while ago, I heard Jay Abraham, who's a very smart entrepreneur and marketer. Jay Abraham is known for saying that there are 3 basic levers that you have to pull if you want to exponentially grow any business. And those 3 levers are increasing the number of customers, increasing the average price per purchase, and increasing the frequency of purchases per customer. And with what we do in the e-commerce world, that translates really well to e-commerce. And these are some of the primary ways that you can grow your e-commerce business. In fact, we can even add a couple more in here because we have the context of e-commerce that would even make that more effective. And so in this post, we're going to talk through the simple multipliers. We're going to have 5 of them for e-commerce and how to use them to literally exponentially grow your business, because the combination of them together creates exponential growth. And so let's go ahead and walk through each one together. So the first one is new customers. And what does that mean? This is where obviously everybody or most marketers spend their time acquiring new customers. These are how many new people are coming into your ecosystem. And you really do need an engine for new customers. You need a way for new people to be coming into your world every single day. That needs to be an engine. It's a critical engine for your business. And we've discussed that engine acquisition in other posts. It's a pillar for how you grow e-commerce businesses. So it's important. But many businesses, especially marketers, overemphasize this. And so you got to be careful there. It's critical for growth because, this is how you grow your world. This is how you expand your influence. And that can maybe overtake your marketing department. That might create too much focus if you're not careful. Too much focus here creates linear growth. And we have our 3 stages of e-commerce scale. And traditionally, like, you can break into the health stage. You can get from survival to health, with customer growth. That's kind of linear growth, but it's really hard to grow from there into exponential growth, into influential growth, as we call it, if you're only focusing here, because it's generally linear. And so how do we measure this? It's simple. It's new customers per month or per week or whatever time frame is most effective for your measurement. Now the question is, how do we grow this? Well, it may seem simple, but we need great products. We need great marketing, and we need really great follow through to grow new customers. And so that's the simple one. But if we increase new customers, that's the first golden multiplier. The second is average order value. Now, you've heard us talk a ton about average order value. It is one of the critical e-commerce metrics. And this is one that not as many people focus on. It is critical. So average order value is simply the average price per unique order that someone pays. And so what is your average purchase price? And most e-commerce platforms will show that to you. It's critical for growth because increasing this will support your acquisition costs. And so if your average order value is, let's say, below your acquisition cost, your CPA, if you're doing digital marketing, then you're losing money on the initial sale, right? And so having a healthy AOV is critical for supporting your marketing growth. It's actually our opinion that this should be above $60 for most products that are under $100. But we actually have a little bit more context on how you should come up with your average order value, which we can link to here. It's based on a multiple of your average product price. And so anyway, how do we measure this, right? Well, it's really simple. Like most e-commerce platforms show this. You can see this in Google Analytics and Shopify. In any of those places, you can see average order value for a period of time. But the question is, how do we grow it? Now, the way you grow average order value, there are 3 basic areas here, and we will link to other articles where we discussed these in depth. But the first one is with your product line strategy. It's very hard, if not impossible, to grow your average order value if you don't have a smart product line strategy. And that is multiple products that complement each other that can be sold together. If you have a single product store, then your only way to increase average order value is by having someone buy more of that same product, multiples of that product in any given order, not one at a time. And yes, there are products like that. But even if you have a product like that, product line strategy is really how you create exponential success here. The second way is through upsells and cross sells. And so we can do upsells, assuming we have a product line strategy, and cross sells to complementary products, which we've discussed before in depth, and we can grow our average order value. And then also the last way is a great offer or great offers. And so the offer is more than just saying, here's my product and here's what I'm selling it for and here's what's great about it. An offer really is packing value into that potential purchase. And that is a combination of risk reversal, trust building, great warranty, great brand, great product, just all those things come together in the offer. So those are some ways that you increase average order value. And average order value is the second golden multiplier, and it is so important for e-commerce. Now let's get into the third multiplier, and that's lifetime value. And now lifetime value is where we get really serious, where we get really good at expanding our brand and really building a valuable business. E-commerce businesses expand exponentially in value if their customer lifetime value is expanding. And that's simply because there's no cap on the value of a customer. If we're always growing lifetime value, it's also not easy to grow lifetime value. It's not simple for everyone to do it. However, there are some simple ways you can start doing it. And so let's define it. Lifetime value of a customer is the value of a customer at a given period of time. So contrary to the name, typically you're not looking at the full lifetime of a customer because it doesn't create any practical knowledge for you. And that's where a lot of people get caught up, right? A lot of people, a lot of organizations, even really big ones, don't know. They might know their lifetime value, like a customer is worth this over the lifetime, but they don't know what to do with it. And that's primarily usually because they're looking at it in an infinite timeline. And so where we see it getting really practical is when you look at lifetime value for a period of time. So that might be 30 days. That might be 60 days, 90 days, 1 year. Typically, we see multiple periods of time. And so this becomes really practical even in the way of cash flow, right? So it also influences cash flow. Let's say lifetime value at 90 days of a customer is $100 for you. And let's say your cost per acquisition is $40. And let's say your average order value is $30, right? So our CPA is higher than our AOV. That means we're losing $10 on the initial sale. But even if lifetime value may be $100, at 90 days. So we're losing $10 on the initial sale. We only get $30. But we know we're going to get $100 most likely out of this customer. Now you know that you have negative cash flow for a period of time. And before you hit break even or even profit, you're going to be in a negative. And so you need to be aware of these things. They're part of your business model because they influence, how much money you spend on advertising and how much you might need to pull on from operating capital or all these other areas. Now, if we can shrink that period of time, now we've increased our cash flow, right? And so we're getting into some areas that this doesn't really get into, but this is why lifetime value is a golden multiplier in business, especially if you can expand it and shrink that timeline. And so let's talk about why it's critical. It seems obvious, but this metric is really the key to exponential growth. And to improve it, it takes a combination of things because it's what we call a compound metric, meaning like multiple things need to be improved in order to improve this metric. A lot of businesses lose money on the initial sale, and that can be okay as long as it works inside of your business model. Break even for most businesses on the initial sale would be great, right? You spend $40, you make $40. That would be a great target because a lot of businesses traditionally go into debt or lose money on the initial sale and then make it back. So the way you win really is, yes, you want to try and make profit on the initial sale. But for many, the way you win is by bringing someone into an ecosystem. Your business, your product line is an ecosystem. And that's how you break it. You break your business out of the health stage and more into the influence stage. That's where real returns come. So how do you measure lifetime value? Lifetime value is measured at a period of time from the initial purchase. And we've got a few posts on how to measure it and that go into more depth on this, but it is measured that way. And so it's a combination of Google Analytics and your Shopify platform or your e-commerce platform and maybe some experts. We do quite a bit of analysis of lifetime value for a lot of different brands. It is a little complicated. However, you need to measure it for periods of time. And then how do you grow it? Well, you grow it by, number one, your product line strategy. We've talked about that. I mentioned that in the AOV conversation in the last one. And now it's here too. The product line strategy is critical for growing lifetime value because you need to be selling someone more of the same thing or more products that complement the thing that you sold them. So you need an ecosystem. The second way you grow it is through email and communications, a really strong email and communications strategy. This is actually the third pillar, the third engine of e-commerce. We call it maximization, but lifetime value falls under here. And that's a lot of email, getting really, really good at e-commerce email. And we've talked in depth. We have resources, we have paid resources, we have free, we have all these different articles on how to really increase your email game when it comes to growing lifetime value of customers. And the third way is creating fans. And fan creation is critical for growing long-term lifetime value. And a fan is not just a purchaser, but is someone who believes in your brand. And we can link to some articles as well on that. All right, let's talk about the fourth multiplier, and that is margin, product margin to be specific. And this is the amount of money that you have after pulling out your hard costs in a product. And this isn't the same as profit, but this contributes to profit. So, you might have operating costs and other things that have to go into this, which have to be taken into account. But your product margin is traditionally when you pull out the hard costs, the cost of that product. And so why is this critical for growth? Well, here's the deal. A lot of businesses don't often look at this as part of the business model and the equation. But if your margins are too low, you simply can't be in a profit, and you won't have enough money to invest in acquiring customers with paid marketing. And you won't be able to give a great experience. And you won't be able to invest in innovation and R&D, which lead to your expanding product line. And we've written on all of these subjects. But margin is the thing that drives all those. Without this, the business stalls, or at worst, it fails. This is the fuel in your rocket. And so if you have too little fuel, you're going to stall out. And so as a benchmark, and we've written about this more, we suggest a minimum of a 5x markup for any product based from the cost to what you sell it for. But really, to really be able to do investing into acquiring customers and R&D and some of these other things and create a great customer experience with warranties, etc., you probably need to be pushing 10, 20, 30x that cost. And that may seem really, really high, but when you look at the most successful direct-to-consumer brands, typically they have a very high markup, and they're able to create a really great experience because they have money to invest into that. Now, if you don't, you're probably going to be investing in that, and maybe you're going for a longer term thing. But it's very important to be aware of, and you need that to support, cost per acquisition, great warranty and experience, innovation, etc. So how do you measure it? Well, it's measured by the percent markup per product, right? How many times your cost is your product selling at. And it's also then measured as the percent markup as a weighted average, right? So based on, what I mean by that is based on what sells the most in your store, weight that higher, and what do you average out at as a margin across your store. So how do you grow it? This is actually something that can be really challenging to grow if you're already running. This is something you should really consider before you start. And if you're already going, you don't want to grow this at the expense of quality or support or your brand, because all those things are generally not good. But the best way to grow this, if you're an established brand, is by taking it into account as you develop your product line strategy and as you develop new products alongside your current products. So that's the best way to do that. Let's go to the fifth golden multiplier, and that's conversion rate. And now most people know this. It's the percent of people that complete a purchase versus the total number of visitors to your site. And this is absolutely critical for growth, obviously, because it is literally the number of purchases you're getting versus the opportunity. However, people often look at this number and rarely can do much about it because it's kind of abstract, right? It's really big. It's hard to influence if you don't understand it. And that's because it's called a compound metric. Meaning it's influenced by a bunch of underlying metrics that kind of flow up to it. But it's critical, obviously, because it's highly leveraged, right? A small increase in conversion rate increases everything you do. It increases your revenue. It makes your marketing dollars go further. It brings in more customers for less. It increases your lifetime value. So this is a really big lever. And we've talked a lot about how you get into growing it and that kind of stuff, which we can link to. Let's talk about how you measure it, though. In any e-commerce platform, especially Google or even Google Analytics, you'll see a conversion rate metric, and it's usually for a time period, and it fluctuates. You can do it by day, week, month, whatever. That's great. But what you really need to do in order to measure it and do something about it is you need to measure it by segment. And so that would be the basic ones are mobile versus desktop. What are your conversion rates for those two? And then look at those individually when it comes to improving those. This is conversion rate by marketing channel. And so, what are your conversion rates on Facebook ads versus YouTube ads versus organic search, all those different channels. Now, keep in mind that those channels are working together. So they're not all responsible for converting the sale the same way, but you still should look at them that way. And we've talked a lot about diversifying your marketing channels and how those all work together, which we can link to as well. And then you should also link to it by customer, particularly customer avatar. And if you haven't done your customer avatar, go ahead and take our post and actually go ahead and do your e-commerce customer avatar. Once you have that, you can see how different customers convert and what their conversion rate is and what actually are the contributors to their conversion rate. So how do you grow your conversion rate? You simply grow it by growing the contributing metrics, right? And so most people go to their site, their e-commerce site when they want to increase their conversion rate. And that's one way to increase it, but that's not the only way. So there are technical ways to increase it, right? There are technical metrics like site metrics. You want to fix broken things. You want to increase, you can increase your add to cart percentage. You can optimize your checkout. We've talked about all these pages. You can look at our perfect e-commerce page series. and optimize your sites. That's one area. But the second area is experiential, right? And so you can also increase the experience, the brand experience of walking through and purchasing your products. You can also grow it by improving your offers, right? So many people, when they think of conversion rate, they're looking at the technical side of this, and they sometimes don't ever think, is my offer attractive? Is my price attractive? Is my product attractive? These are all things that will actually go right to your conversion rate and probably be the biggest influence on your conversion rate. You can look at your product and your messaging. These are all kind of areas that contribute to this. And so it's not just changing button colors. And I think that's the point that I'm making here with this conversion rate aspect. And so anyway, those 5 golden metrics, if improved just a little bit, 5%, that compounds into exponential growth. In fact, if you're a certain size business and you want to, let's say, get to another size of growth, you can really just reverse out of that growth percentage that you want to achieve and determine how much of each of these metrics you'll need to increase. And then you just create initiatives for increasing each one. You do brainstorm there, and that's how you grow. That's how you grow a business. It's actually, in some ways, that simple. So look, if you want some knowledge, advice, or consulting on how you should grow your business, or you want to create a growth plan, we do that for businesses of all sizes, the really big ones, the ones that grow really fast. And so feel free to reach out to us, and we'd love to help you.